राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी,
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी,
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन,
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 जमुना तीर बनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी,
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी।
Hi everyone, Hare Krishna. So we're going to start today's session, and today we're going to be talking about the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I hope I'm audible and visible to everyone. Can you give me a yes or a thumbs up on the chat box? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, okay, Lalita Auntie, is it not audible for you? I think everybody else is able to hear. Right. Auntie is still connecting to audio. Perfect. Right. So let me just share my screen and we'll start off with today's class. Thank you, Kumarji. Thank you. All right. Okay. I'm just trying to share the slides for today. Just bear with me for a minute. Okay. Yeah. I hope the slides are visible to you now, hopefully. Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Let's quickly make a start. Before beginning today's class, I request all of you, humbly, I pay my obeisances to all of you and request that you please give me your blessings and prayers so that whatever I speak today is in accordance with what Lord Krishna had told Arjuna and what has been passed down through the Guru Parampara. And let me start with a prayer. I want you all to join me in the prayer. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalaam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Welcome everyone to today's session. And let's quickly recap what we've done in the previous class on Monday, right? We had discussed about the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. We looked at what is eternal knowledge. We saw what's actually accurate understanding. What do we mean by akarma, karma, and vikarma? The 3 types of karma we saw in the last session. And we saw what is surrender again. From the 2nd chapter, we've been discussing this. What surrender, who is a devotee, and what's the importance of surrender? What are the glories of getting this eternal knowledge? What kind of knowledge is this? And who can and cannot get this knowledge? Who is eligible? So we saw all of these things in the 4th chapter. Today, what we are going to see is a first step towards understanding the concepts in the Bhagavad Gita. And this chapter is very eye-opening, and there are very important concepts in this chapter. We get to know, we get something called the peace formula. All of us want peace in life, isn't it? Even after getting a lot of money, comforts, luxury, relationships, despite all of this, even till the end, we still keep hankering for happiness and peace in life. So we are going to see how we can achieve this or attain this peace, right? So it's a very important chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. Also, I'd request you all, if possible, if you're comfortable, to please come on video so that I can see your responses. I can visually engage with you all, right? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kartikeya. Thank you, Lalita Aunty. If there's anyone else who can come in video, it would be great. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, let's proceed. So the acronym for the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is called STEP. And you can see on the slide, S stands for staying in this world, stay in the world. T stands for the 3 doers. We'll see who the 3 doers are. Okay. E stands for equal vision, and P, finally, the treasure of this chapter, the peace formula. So we'll come towards the end of this chapter, we'll see what it is. Okay. So what do we mean by staying in this world, and how should we stay in this world? This is explained from the 1st to 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So let me show the slide to you. Yes, 1st to 12th shloka, I'm sorry, of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, in this 5th chapter. So this world that we are in right now is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, the abode of misery. That's how it's described. That's what it translates to. Dukkhalayam means the abode of misery, and Ashashvatam means something that which is very temporary. So we are now in this world. We have to stay in this world. But how do we stay in this world? What's the right attitude? How do we keep ourselves away from misery, which is the inherent nature and quality of this world? So I'm going to give you 2 scenarios, all right? 2 situations I want you all to imagine yourself in, okay? The first situation is you have a friend, okay? You have a very dear friend who is going on a world tour, all right? He's going on a world tour. So this friend gives you the keys of his home and his, property and stuff for you to take care of it. You're given the responsibility to take care of his property, which is worth around, let's say, 50,000 pounds. Okay. So until he's back from his world tour, it's you who is responsible for this property, right? So this is scenario 1. Scenario 2 is you go to your favorite supermarket. Okay, I'm not endorsing anyone. Let's say Tesco, Lidl, or Aldi or whatever. So you go to your favorite supermarket, do all your shopping, and then you get a scratch card. All right, you get a scratch card, and the scratch card is also worth 50,000 pounds of money. Okay, and you get the scratch card and wait and wait and wait. The next week, you see the winners, the lottery winners, and you are elated to discover that it's your scratch card number that's in the list of winners. Okay, you're the winner of this 50,000 pounds worth of money. So you are extremely elated. You go receive your cash prize, and you have a nice sound sleep that day. It's the happiest day of your life. Okay. The next morning, you discover that where you had kept this cash has now vanished, because apparently there's been a thief who broke into your house and stole the money. Okay. So these 2 situations, think about what would you feel? How would you respond? The first situation was you own 50,000 pounds of property that your friend left to you until he completed his world tour. You had to return everything to him once he was back. Okay. And he trusted you on this. And the second situation is you won a lottery of 50,000 pounds, got the money, and then it was stolen. So what would be your response in these 2 situations? How would you feel? Please put it in the chat box. And if anyone would like to answer, you can just raise your hand so that I can let you on mute. Can I have your responses in the chat box? How would you feel in situation 1 and situation 2? Okay. Pranav, are you raising your hand? No? Okay. Why is everyone very quiet today? I don't see anything in the chat box. You don't believe this situation is realistic. It's imaginary anyway. How would you respond? I want you to analyze yourself and think what would happen. How would you feel? In the first case, for 1 month, you're having 50,000 pounds but it belongs to your friend. In the second case, you won those 50,000 pounds and you lost it. So in this situation one, what would be your response? How would you feel in situation one? Can I have your responses in the chat box, please? Quickly. Otherwise, I'll have to give you a timer countdown. Okay, is everyone listening? Or have I put you all to sleep with the bhajan in the beginning? Yes. Okay, Kartikeya says, repeat the question. Okay. Situation one is your friend entrusts you with 50,000 pounds worth of property for 1 month. Okay. And, how would you feel in this situation? For 1 month, you are now having all the keys to 50,000 pounds worth of property, which you will have to return. Okay, Indumati says, she has an interesting response. She says, we'll enjoy the place with with caution, because it is some other's home. Right. Okay, but you will still enjoy the place. Okay. Right. Pranav says situation one, he'll remain indifferent. Situation two will make him sad. Right. What would you feel? Okay. Okay. Priya will try to stay away from the temptations. Okay. Nice answer. Right. Okay. Okay, I have, but I won't utilize because it was not mine. I'll just take care of property and return it safely once the friend is back. Okay, perfect. Right. So now situation two. Okay, Kiran says, okay. Kiran's response is on point. Prashant says, I wouldn't want my friend to ask for that property or money back. Oh God. But unfortunately, your friend is coming back after the world tour. So you have to give it back. Right. So situation two is you won the lottery and you had the happiest day in your life, had a great sound sleep. Next morning, you discovered you lost the 50,000 pounds you won. How would you feel here? Kumarji says sad and frustrated for situation two. Situation one, he would dutifully return the property to his friend. Okay, perfect. Yes. Vindumati says, will feel sad and curse my fate for some time, but really not to worry much. Okay, right. Yes, what about others? I would be devastated if I lost a 50,000 pound lottery. Others are so indifferent to the question. How would you feel if you lost this 50,000 pounds of money? Despair, devastation for the second situation. Okay, Prashant says. Right. Yutika says, in situation one, wouldn't do anything with the place or money. In situation two, would be upset. Chaitra says, bad luck. Oh, Kartikeya says he'll earn it back. Okay, very interesting responses. Right. So I want you to think now, what made you sad in situation two and not sad in situation one? What was that thing? There's one thing that you had which made you feel bad in situation two, upset, devastated, sad. Right. In both cases, was the money yours? Was the money or property yours in both cases? Yes or no? In the chat box, please. It didn't belong to us in the first place. That's why we were so indifferent. Okay, that was the first scenario, right? But in the second scenario, in the lottery case, did the money belong to you or not? Chaitra says, yes, it did. Okay, what about others? I see 19 people here, but I don't see people responding. Rahul, Purva, okay, Harsha. For a very short while, okay, it was yours, and then it was gone. Pranav says, okay, okay. Right. So what made this difference with the second situation? First situation, we were all indifferent, right? It was a friend's property. We had to take care of it for a while and return everything. So it was indifferent. But the second case, for a short period of time, we thought it was our money. We had won it, right? So that attachment to the money developed in the second case. This is like, when we get results. Imagine you and your best friend. It's a result today, and you discover in these olden times, these results. Nowadays, it's online. Nobody knows nobody else's result. It's very secretive. But earlier, it used to be on the notice board. So people used to queue up to find the results on the notice board. So imagine you and your best friend. First, you go see that your best friend's name is not in the pass list. Okay. And you end up seeing that your friend has failed. What you would do? How would you take this forward? Your friend is crying next to you. What would you do? Please in the chat box. Your best friend has failed the exam. He's crying next to you. I see Pranav typing his response. Try to console him. Okay, Indumati, console him, comfort him or her first. Okay. Right. Then you thought you passed. Okay. Then you discovered that you also failed. Correct. Your friend failed, so you consoled him, comforted, reassured, right? This is what we would do. Now you discovered you have also failed. Yes. Pranav says he'll be very happy. Both of them have failed together, is it? Huh? What happens when it's our case? Would it be the same? Knowing that your friend has failed and now you have failed, what would make you more sad? Prashant is devastated. I don't know, in both cases or one case or which case, I don't know. Huh? So there's always something when it comes to your own self, isn't it? You'll feel, yeah, I think it would be the same if the friendship is true. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Oh, Kumarji says both will start consoling each other. Right. So basically, there's something, that happens when it comes to us. When we experience difficult situations, the level of sadness is very high. But when somebody else experiences the same thing, your friend or acquaintance, you remain unaffected, right? You console them, you reassure them, isn't it? So what makes this difference? The attachment that we have with things, that's what makes this difference. That's what makes us sad, devastated, upset, and stuff like that. So how do we get rid of this? So before that, let's see, how do we get rid of this confusion? How to stay in the last chapter, the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, not the fourth one, we saw two types of renunciation, right? And in the last chapter, we saw different types of karma: akarma, vikarma, and karma. So we get attached to things, we get sad. So should we renounce everything? We should simply sit idle and stop working? Is that a possibility? So that's not a possibility. In this world, it's impossible for us as embodied beings to be completely idle. Even if we assume that we are idle, we would be doing something or the other. So what's the solution? What's the way out? We need to work in devotion, right? We need to work with devotion. Everything that we do, if we have a devotional attitude in this work, now we are doing the same thing, but not for ourselves. We are doing it for God. So that attachment that we have will gradually reduce, because now we are thinking that we're doing it for God first, and then whatever we get as a remaining part of that results of that work is for us. But the main purpose is to offer it to God. So when we work in devotion, we easily get rid of attachment. So it allows us to act in the eternal position. It purifies our heart from all these attachments that keep us entangled. It's a very joyful process. Devotion is not something like you go sit there, pray and sit and pray and cry in front of God. It's not that. It's so much more. You enjoy amazing food. you dance, you sing, you have great, beautiful lead dressed deities in front of you. So it's very engaging. All your senses are engaged. You're hearing music, you're dancing, you're looking at beautiful gods in front of you. So all of your senses are engaged. You don't feel like thinking about other things, right? You through this process over a period of time, we can develop complete renunciation, and it becomes very easy to attain the supreme personality of Godhead. If this renunciation is incomplete, there are many other techniques. You try to control your senses, you sit there, you have all these cravings, but you try to avoid it. This makes things very difficult, becomes incomplete renunciation. It's a difficult position to maintain. Your senses struggle, senses are negated. It takes a long time, takes a very long time by this method where you yourself try to control your senses. Your senses are meant to be engaged in some way or the other. If you try to stop them altogether or control them, becomes very difficult, and it's a very long process. It takes several births, right? But both paths lead towards the same destination, which is going back to Godhead, going back to our original position. So when we add devotion to our practices, when you add devotion to food, it becomes prasada. When you add devotion to music, it becomes kirtan. So when you add devotion to things, your work also becomes worship. Your senses are now, your senses now know that whatever you're doing is not primarily for you, it is for God, right? So they get controlled gradually. It's not an immediate process. Okay? It doesn't happen like that, but it happens gradually. We eventually are able to act without attachment and without desiring the results, right? We do things as a duty. We work as, accepting it as a duty rather than, thinking of it as a technique for enjoyment. So we act with body, mind, and senses for the purpose of purification. What do we mean by this purification? The idea of getting rid of the attachments that entangle us, right? Okay. So what is told in the 5th chapter about this attachment? How should we be in this world? How to stay in this world? Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sapapena padma patram mivambhasa. It's a very beautiful shloka in the 5th chapter. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. If any of you have seen lotus leaves, these are huge, huge flat leaves. They are on the water, floating on the water, but you'll see that droplets of water are on the leaf, but the leaf never gets wet, right? Despite being in the water. So how is this possible? On the lotus leaf, there is this waxy coating, I believe, which helps it stay away. Helps it being dry despite being in the water, right? Staying dry despite being in the water. So similarly, when we include devotion in our activities, devotion becomes a protective layer and helps us protect ourselves from getting attached to things, people, or situations, let's say. So this is the example that's given in this chapter. So what does this mean to us? How does this translate in life? We are unaffected by sinful action, in the sense we are unaffected by the results of actions. Okay, this person who remains unattached, right, is not having emotional turbulence now. It's not getting upset over things, is not getting devastated, is not being very sad, is not getting angry over small things. So what eventually happens? Everybody likes this person because he's always in a happy mood, isn't it? So becomes dear to everyone, and everyone is also dear to him. This is given in the 7th shloka. And attains peace. There's no anxiety over the result. But this is not the peace formula. We'll get to the peace formula. So one way of being peaceful is getting rid of attachments. And how to get rid of attachments? Make all your activities add devotion to all your activities, basically. You're having food, offer it to God and then have that food. Now you realize that what you wanted to eat palak paneer, but you made that palak paneer, waited for 5 minutes until you offered it, then you had it. So it reduces gradually the attachment that you have for this palak paneer, right? Something like that. So when you add devotion to all your activities in life, eventually you reduce the amount of attachment that you have towards those activities. Now, this is a very important concept given in this chapter called three doers. Okay. So who do you think controls things that happens in our life? I quickly want your responses in the chat box. Who has control over what happens in our lives? Yes, quick. Kartikeya says Thakurji, meaning God. Okay. Indumati ji says us. Okay, we have control over what happens in our life. Yes, please. Others. Prashant, Priya, Purva, Rahul, Shivani, Yutika, Kiranji. Okay. Kiranji says, for our actions, we are responsible. Okay. Kumar sir also says we are responsible ourselves. Okay. Right. So somebody says, oh, Pranav says his professor is responsible for everything that happens in his life. Oh my God. That's a scary situation. Priya says, what happens is God's choice and our karma, but how to behave is in our hand. Yutika says God. God is responsible for what happens in our life, or we are responsible. You got two of the doers right. What's the third one? There are three doers. Three doers here. Let's see who are the three doers. And this is explained from the 13th to 16th shloka. So, in the 15th shloka, Lord says, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Okay. Don't be confused by this. So how do things work? Who are the three doers? Okay. Let's see. So we have the soul, the super soul, and material nature. Who is the soul or the Jiva? It is us, right? Who is the super soul? Is called super soul because God is present with each one of us as Paramatma in our hearts. He says in the 15th chapter, 15th shloka, this is one of my favorite shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita. Lord says, Sarvasya chaham tridi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaishcha sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. I am situated in everybody's heart as the Paramatma or super soul, right? So the second doer is God as the super soul or the Paramatma. Who is the third person involved here? It's material nature or Prakriti, who works under God's instructions and carries out the orders that God gives her. Okay. Now, what orders that does God give and what does material nature carry out? So it's the relationship between Jiva, Ishvara, and Prakriti. Jiva is the soul, Ishvara is God or the super soul, Prakriti is material nature. So as a Jiva, we desire things, right? We have desires. So when we desire something, this desire reaches the super soul situated in our heart, Paramatma. What Paramatma does, Paramatma is situated in our heart as a witness, and he knows what karma we have done, right? So based on the karma credit that we have, the merits that we have gathered over several lifetimes, Ishvara decides which desires are to be fulfilled, which are not to be fulfilled. Okay. So Ishvara now, based on our karma credit, orders Prakriti or material nature to perform actions or carry out this desire or make this desire fulfilled. Right. So this is the flow of events, how our desires are sanctioned by Ishvara or God, and how Prakriti or material nature carries out the instructions given by Lord. But when will our desires be fulfilled? What's the criteria for our desires to be fulfilled? Our karmic credit, right? The type of karma that we have done. Like we have money, currency here to buy stuff. So for our desires to be fulfilled, we need karmic credit, good karmic credit. Okay. But unlike the money in the material world, when we end up with no karma, that is when we get released from this whole cycle. So we'll see what that. So when our desires are fulfilled, when this gets sanctioned, Jiva becomes temporarily happy. But desire is never satisfied. Once one desire gets satisfied, we are happy for a while. And then again we want more. We keep desiring for more and more and more, isn't it? So that's how we keep getting entangled again and again, and we keep losing our karmic credit. Now, the second case, we don't have proper karmic credit. Lord rejects our desire. Now what happens? Jiva becomes frustrated, hopeless, and sad. We say, Bhagwan, oh God, why do you always do this to me? Why me? This is what we go and say. Why do I have to face all these distress? My friend, wanted to become a millionaire. He became a millionaire. But I was better than him. Why didn't I become a millionaire? So this is the kind of request that we go to God with, right? So now in this whole cycle, what is in our control? What is in our control? Are desires in our control? Are the orders that Lord gives, is that in our control? Or the what material nature does in response to God's orders, is that in our control? What is in our control in the whole situation? Our desires, right? Yes, perfect. Indumati and Prashant, perfect. So our desires are in our control. But the problem with desires is they are ever increasing, never depleting. We always get more and higher levels of desires. Our greed is never ending. So now how to purify our desires? How to end up with happiness? How to purify our desires? It's a very nice descriptive photo here. Desiring for that one note, he ended up killing himself, right? So how to purify our desires? So the solution to this is through equal vision. Through equal vision. Desires come when comparison arises, isn't it? We see our friend bought this Lamborghini car. Hey, your friend bought a Lamborghini. So your next goal in life, your bucket list would be, I want that Lamborghini too, my favorite color, right? So comparison so prevalent in society, it's all ingrained into our brains that if someone progresses, we want to be at that level, we want to be better than them, right? So that's one reason for desires. When we see people are at different levels, desires come up. So the solution to purify our desires is through equal vision. How will we get this equal vision? We're going to see the next part of our class. We are almost hitting the end of 40 minutes. So I'm going to stop screen sharing just now. And please log in back through the same link and we'll resume, right? Perfect. See you all. Hare Krishna.